The indicators of democracy reveal significant shortcomings, with low scores in corruption, hunger, and law and order indices pointing towards systemic failures entrenched within the framework. Such metrics not only expose the pressing issues at hand, but also underscore the immediate need for comprehensive reform in order to address these deep-rooted challenges. In examining recent elections, a stark contrast emerges in both voter participation and the integrity of the electoral process in comparison to other nations. This noticeable discrepancy raises critical questions regarding the legitimacy of the electoral outcomes and the broader health of the democratic system. Acknowledging these concerns, former leaders have openly recognized the flaws present in the electoral process and have initiated discussions aimed at implementing necessary changes. This willingness to learn from past mistakes is fundamental for cultivating a more effective and resilient democratic framework. The necessity of accountability in leadership cannot be overstated. It is imperative that leaders not only rectify past oversights, but also refrain from using previous failings as justifications for inaction. Effective governance fundamentally begins with a commitment to taking responsibility for decisions and their outcomes. Current economic challenges further accentuate this landscape, manifested through significant spikes in the prices of essential goods and a marked decline in Nigeria's GDP ranking. These dire economic realities serve to amplify the demand for capable and visionary leadership. Moreover, the discourse surrounding pain before gain in the context of economic reforms posits that while immediate hardships may be anticipated, the long-term benefits derived from essential governance changes can ultimately outweigh those initial adversities. In a proactive step towards transparency, the amendment necessitates that the Independent National Electoral Commission publish results live on their website, thereby granting immediate access to citizens. This move is anticipated to mitigate potential manipulations of election outcomes, fostering public trust. In addition to this, the amendment outlines provisions for public APIs, allowing media outlets and civil society organizations to display results in real time. This initiative not only enhances broader participation, but also facilitates scrutiny of the electoral process from various stakeholder perspectives. By introducing stringent penalties for non-compliance, including imprisonment for officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission who fail to conform to the new transmission standards, the amendment effectively underscores the importance of accountability within the electoral process. This is a critical deterrent against potential misconduct during elections. Amendments to Section 60 mandate the immediate electronic transmission of results post-polling, thereby ensuring transparency and facilitating timely reporting of electoral data. This procedural change is pivotal in efforts to eliminate possible vote manipulation. Furthermore, subsections 6 to 8 of Section 60 introduce a unique identification system for electronic data packages, safeguarding the integrity and authenticity of election results. This system mandates geolocation tagging and timestamps for every result submitted, thereby enhancing the verifiability of electoral outcomes. The revisions in Section 62 highlight the critical need for electronic collation and publication of results, mandating that collation officers depend on electronically transmitted data. This transition signifies a notable progression towards digital verification in electoral processes. The amendment encompasses provisions for a secure electronic transmission system, ensuring that real-time results remain accessible to the public. Such transparency is paramount in reinforcing the credibility of elections. Additionally, the proposed strict penalties, which may include imprisonment for up to 10 years for officials who obstruct or tamper with the electronic transmission system, stand as a testament to the commitment towards ensuring accountability in the electoral framework. Empowering registered voters, political parties, and candidates to initiate legal action against the Electoral Commission for violations further enhances civic engagement and oversight within the electoral process. This empowerment is a vital step toward a more accountable electoral system. The Electoral Amendment Bill advocates for mandatory electronic procedures for result transmission, thereby promoting transparency and reinforcing accountability in the electoral process. Such measures are expected to significantly curtail instances of electoral fraud. In summary, the proposed reforms introduce stringent penalties for manipulation and actively empower citizens to contest electoral irregularities. These changes aim to foster enhanced public confidence in the electoral framework. Addressing voter apathy demands legislative action, thereby encouraging greater participation from Nigerians in the electoral process. A well-structured electoral act emerges as essential for enhancing voter turnout and ensuring the robustness of democracy.
Are we truly democratic? unexamined life is not worth living. You must at any step try to examine what we are doing. After 25 years of experimenting and trying to be a democratic country, it is now time to ask questions. Are we truly democratic? And you start by defining what it's supposed to be. Democracy is supposed to be government of the people, by the people, for the people. So the fundamental question, is this government of the people? Is it by the people? And is it for the people? Beneath this is supposed to be a benefit for the people, which is not there today. Absence of which have led to leadership failure over the years that brought massive corruption, hunger, sufferings, all sorts of pain, insecurity, everything. So the opposite is what we've experienced. What we should actually be celebrating is that some sort of state capture, where those who have captured it have cornered all the benefits that are meant for the people. All the people are supposed to see in terms of good education, good health, and pulling them out of poverty have been cornered by the few that have captured the system. And they continue at the suffering and expense of all. And the list is endless. You can go there and see the measure of democracy. We are 4.23, which shows we're low. You look at the hunger index, we're 109 over 124 countries measured, which shows we're low. You look at corruption index, we're 145 over 180 countries, which shows we're low. You look at law and order, which is supposed to be an intangible asset that drives democracy. We're very low. We're 120 over countries measured. So you could see we're low in every facet. If you compare even the electoral process that brings our leaders into office, again, we're very low. Let's just take the recent 3 elections in comparable countries of South Africa, India, Mexico. In all these 3 countries, first is that over 60% of registered voters participated in voting. Polling booths opened, over 80% opened on time and closed on time without incidents, no ballot snatching, no this and everything. And results were transmitted electronically without any hitches, no glitches, nothing.
Well, there was a slight hitch in the South African transmission, but not to the degree.
No, it didn't affect the result because every party accepted it. It was a very minor thing. I watched it sitting down in my own sitting room from beginning to the end. India, that was supposed to have over, the people that voted in India are 3 times the Nigerian population. Yet you could see it. The election was accepted. In our own case, less than 25% of the voters participated.
And indeed, those who came out, many of them were prevented from
Thank you. At the polling booths, did not open on time, closed late, closed early, with all sorts of fraud and everything. And when you think about it, in these countries that I mentioned, these were carried out by ordinary citizens. In our own case, despite all this fraud, glitches, everything, it was being executed by professors. So there must be something we need to re-examine and ask ourselves question, how do we get it right? For our children, for the future generation, we can't continue on this path.
So how do we get it right?
By doing it rightly. The government can stamp and say, I recall late President Yaradua, who's admitted that the process that brought him to office is faulty. And he was bent on changing it and putting the right steps to do that.
So do you think
which was followed up by Jonathan?
Right.
And participated in an election where for the first time the ruling party and the president lost the election. Just like you can see in the way I've just told you, the ANC in South Africa had a reduced position. In India, the same thing happened. They accepted it.
So do you think that the reason for this problem that you've identified is politicians in power consciously refusing to give those institutions the latitude to operate?
Exactly. And making sure it happened. Institutions must be respected by those in office. They must make sure for the future of the society, for the future of our children, a leader or those who are in leadership must do things rightly.
So in that regard, when you look at the highest office in this country, an office that you aspire to, what do you see? Do you see an individual that respects or does not respect the rule of law, and who through his actions and those of his deputies and possibly ruling party supports or does not support the fabric of this country's democracy?
Charles, I leave this. You can ask ordinary Nigerians.
Well, I'm asking you.
I don't think they do. No. They don't. That's why it's happening. If they do, it won't happen.
You do recognize, though, that a lot of the people who are in power have inherited decades of rot, and you can't wave a magic wand and all that rot will disappear.
Charles, I don't like discussing this today. No matter where you start, if you mean well, you can start correcting them. The role of a leader is not to remind people of the past or mention the past or think about the past. Your role is to show the path by doing things that are right. Change starts from you. By you, if you decide to walk the right path, that's how it starts. You can decide, okay, yesterday it was wrong. That's even part of why we hired you. Because it was wrong yesterday, we didn't hire you to remind us or start giving us the excuse, but to show the solution and how best to do it. That is leadership.
So in that respect, after 25 years of unbroken democracy, which Nigeria is marking this week, are we walking on the edge of a razor blade, as someone put it? Are you pessimistic or optimistic?
Very, very pessimistic. We're actually walking in the right direction.
In the right direction?
In the wrong direction.
In the wrong direction.
We're actually walking in the wrong direction.
Right.
Very wrong direction. And we need to change it and walk in the right direction. And it has to start from the number one person.
Well, let's assess that walking in the right direction or wrong direction and that number one person. Let's turn to President Tinubu's first year anniversary. After 1 year in office, do you think he has displayed the strength and the ability to tackle Nigeria's many problems? Are you impressed with mega projects, for example, like the Lagos-Calabar Highway?
Well, you know, I've never made comment about 1 year in office. The reason why is simple. I would say that President Tinubu have kept to his campaign promises. Throughout the campaign, he consistently maintained that he will continue from where Buhari stopped. And that is done very well. I would say excellent. I'll give him excellent pass mark. And it's very simple, Mr. Charles. Dollar was 460, is now 1,005. Fuel was 238, is now about 700. Diesel was 844, is now 1,415. A bag of rice is 35,000, is now about 80. A bag of beans was similar, 35, is now about 90. Gari was 27.28, is now 49.50. A tuber of yam was about 2,007 to 3,000, now is about 10,000. Tomato basket is about 40,000, that is over 150,000. Electricity is 66 kilowatts, is now over 200. You can go on and on. Our debts, even bread, which is a basic thing other countries that subside, like Egypt, bread, smaller, medium bread was 450 naira. It's not 900 naira. The big one is 900, is 1,005. Our debt, like I mentioned, was 87. By end of last year, it was actually 97. The highest we've done within that short period. Now is over 100 trillion. In fact, this year alone, the government, through the Central Bank of Nigeria, have issued and taken from the system borrowing of over 16 trillion naira. You can imagine the interest at almost 20%. It's about 3.2 trillion after 12 months. At that, last year, in a period of 9 months, we spent about 5.7 trillion servicing as debt interest on our payments. So add that. So overall, you've done well. Let's even go back to the overall of the economy. By the time he took over last year, we were still the biggest economy in Africa with $477 billion as our GDP, followed by South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, and Morocco. Today, we are number 4. South Africa is number 1 now, I think about $373 billion. Egypt is second, $347 billion, followed by Algeria, 266. And we are now 252 billion GDP economy. It's even worse when you go to our per capita. We are actually 1/4 of per capita of the list of these nations that I mentioned. South Africa is over 6,000 per capita. Egypt is 4,000 plus. So is Algeria. And then Morocco, which among this is supposed to be the 5th, at 4,210, and we are 1,000 plus. So we actually have gone low. We're coming from a low of per capita of 3,000 plus in 2014. So with every other thing have headed south. You see, insecurity is worsened. Well, corruption has worsened.
Let's
adherence to the rule of law has worsened. The country has been nepotism is at the highest.
Let's look at one issue that you mentioned, and you came up with quite voluble statistics there, and that is the issue of the economy. The president, in the clip we played earlier, before our interview began, made it clear that he was aware of the fact that there would be pain before gain. I mean, if you look at every economy, from Argentina to all the ones that have tried to reform their economies, there's always a bit of pain before the gain comes. That comes with putting in reforms, and fundamental reforms that would eventually lead to an improvement in the economy. What I'm curious to know is if you had become president, how difficult would it have been to govern in the current environment? Because you would have inherited essentially what President Buhari left for you to inherit. Because some have argued that whoever took over from President Buhari would have inherited a country that would have been very difficult to fix, with so much borrowing and debt and corruption and the fall in, you know, the currency and all the rest of it. Yes, you could argue that the government, that was part of what they said were their reforms. But in other words, you would not have been able to turn things around and deliver in 1 year.
Charles, the first thing you do as a leader who inherited a difficult situation is to lead by example.
A bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act 2022 to make electronic transmission, electronic auto collation, and live online publication of election results mandatory by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and for related matters. So it's not about just transmission of film from EC8A to IREV. No. This 2025 proposed bill that we have here goes beyond that. Because what we saw is that INEC sends the form EC8A, all manner of copies. Sometimes it's a picture of somebody in the restroom, and then sometimes it's all manner of forged things. No. This amendment bill goes beyond that. It's saying that you will make INEC to compulsorily, mandatorily ensure to make the transmission, electronic auto collation, which means that once the result is declared in a polling unit, INEC is displaying it to us real time. Before that result is taken to the registration area collation center or the ward collation center, we are seeing the result from the polling unit. So all those collation that will take place in the ward, that will take place in the local government, that will take place at the state, they will just be for, what do you call this thing? Okay, let me just use backup. They will just be for doing the normal paperwork to provide evidence of the paperwork, but the election result would have gone immediately the result is announced at the polling unit. That way, all this snatching of ballot boxes, all this mayhem that takes place in the polling unit, they will not be there anymore. And guess what? Look at where it gets even more beautiful. It says live online publication of electronic results. So INEC will be mandated by this amendment to transmit the result live on the INEC website. You will have the map of Nigeria with the state, with the local government, with the ward, with the polling unit. You can access them just the way you see it on CNN when they are doing the American. They can do it. It's very easily achievable. We have our own software that can do that. And we are just individuals. We don't have billions of naira given to us for elections. So INEC cannot say they cannot do it with all the billions that we gave them, 350 billion naira. They can do it. 2027 will not be business as usual, but that depends on whether we take action today. Now, in addition to INEC publishing those results on their website, this Electoral Amendment Act will mandate INEC to do another thing: provide publicly available APIs that TV stations can use, that civil society organizations can use, that individuals can use, NGOs can use to display election results in real time from polling units on their own website too, or for television programs, so that as the results are coming, we are seeing it. It does not leave any room for manipulation. This is the game changer. Tinubu will not like this. APC will not like this. Most of the lawmakers in the National Assembly will not like this. But the law is the law. We have a right to demand this amendment. And this is what all Nigerians must demand. Any Nigerian that is not demanding this electoral amendment is an enemy of Nigeria. It doesn't matter who that person is. Let's go further. Now, Section 50 or section 50 subsection 2 says voting at an election and transmission of results under this act shall be in accordance with the procedure determined by the commission. That's the old one. Now here's the new one. Say voting at an election shall be by such method as the commission may prescribe, provided that every result from a polling unit shall immediately after announcement be transmitted electronically. Let me zoom it in a little. Yes. Shall be transmitted electronically through a secure real-time system approved by the commission and capable of end-to-end description. Such transmission is mandatory and forms an integral part of the polling process. Then we put in a new subsection in that section 50 of the Electoral Act 2022. Subsection 5. It says a presiding officer who fails to comply with subsection 2 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for 5 years or a fine of 5 million naira or both, and any result so affected shall be void. So INEC officials cannot be misbehaving the way they misbehaved in the 2023 elections. They don't have that liberty anymore. This, and you will see another provision later that makes this section easily justiciable. Easily justiciable. Okay, so let me shift this a little. Okay, fine. Section 60, which talks about counting of votes and forms. Section 60 subsection 5 is amended by deleting the phrase in a manner as prescribed by the commission and substituting the following. Say, by simultaneously A, uploading a scanned copy of Form EC8A, and B, pushing the result data packet, including the total accredited voters and votes scored by each candidate via an INEC certified electronic device, BVAS, to the National Electronic Transmission System immediately after announcement at the polling unit. We can't leave INEC to act on its own volition, act on its own prerogative, and expect elections to be free and fair. These kind of conditions are the things that we need to force INEC to do. They will not like this, but we must demand it. They can't come out openly to say that they don't like it, because they don't have the moral ground to say that they don't like it. Because if they come out to openly say they don't like it, then they will be openly saying they are planning to rig, even though we know that they are already planning to do that. And we are also putting things in place to make sure that rigging will be impossible. Even if they don't pass this Electoral Amendment Act, rigging will be impossible. They are counting, they have started campaign for 2027. We have started our own arrangement. And part of the things that we need will include you coming to join us to form a new political party. Don't sit and say it's not doable, it's doable. We'll talk about that later. Let's continue with this Electoral Amendment Act 2025 proposed. A new subsection is added into section 60 of the Electoral Act 2022. And in section 60, subsection 6, up to subsection 8. Subsection 6 says, the electronic data packet shall carry a unique hash to guarantee integrity and shall be time-stamped and geotagged. The time that that result was uploaded, that the figures were uploaded, that time and the location will be tagged into what is uploaded. So we'll know where the results are coming from. A situation whereby somebody is posting the picture from his house in his toilet, that situation will not arise anymore. The application of INEC that we are forcing them to set up now, build, will force the application to take geolocation or geotag and timestamps for such results. 7, subsection 7 of section 60. It says, the presiding officer shall display on demand the transmission confirmation to every accredited agent present. So after the announcement of results at the polling unit, the collation officer must show to all the accredited agents of the accredited political parties that, look, oh, I have sent the results of the polling unit to INEC. The confirmation must be seen with the figures that were sent. That confirmation must be displayed. You know, we can't leave these things to chance. Subsection 8, failure to transmit in accordance with this section shall constitute non-compliance substantial enough to invalidate the polling unit results. We can't leave these things to chance. This amendment is what we have been waiting for. Look at section 62, post-election procedure. It says the marginal note, there's a marginal note in the Electoral Act 2022. That marginal note now will be changed to this one. It says the marginal note is substituted with post-election procedure, electronic collation, and publication of election results. In subsection 1 of section 62 of the Electoral Act 2022, we must now have, after deliver same, we must now insert the and ensure the electronic version has been successfully received on the National Electronic Election Result Transmission System. Then subsection 2 of section 62 should now read, a collation officer shall rely first and exclusively on the electronically transmitted unit result, that's polling unit result, auto-collated by the National Election Result Transmission System, already published online. That's what the collation officers will do. And remember, the collation is just backup. The result is already displayed. It's just for administrative purposes, so that when you want to do a recount, you can have papers to fall back on. But the result is already online as per this amendment. Section 64, declaration of result. In subsection 64, subsection 4 of section 64, subsection 5, replace shall use with shall exclusively use and delete words subject to user verification. Okay, those are many ones. Now look at this one. Subsection 6 of section 64 adds a proviso. Say, provided that where the electronic record for a polling unit is absent on the National Election Result Transmission System within 2 hours of close of poll, the result for that polling unit shall be suspended until electronic data is supplied or a supplementary poll is conducted within 7 days. So a situation whereby you have collation officers continuing with collation when the result is not online, whether on IREV or in the election result transmission system. If it's not there, the collation officer, whether at the ward level, whether at the local government level, whether at the state level, cannot proceed. And if the result does not come, there should be a supplementary election in that polling unit within 7 days. INEC, una go hear am 2027. We cannot allow a situation in this country where we have wicked people treat us as if there are no sensible people in Nigeria. No. And this is the time for you and I to speak up and take action. I've said it. It's not about petitions anymore. This proposed electoral amendment bill 2025 is available for download. Download it. We must send it to all of our lawmakers. We must send it to all of our lawmakers. This is how to go about it. Not petition. Then you have the new sections that will be added. 64A to 64C. 64A talks about the election result transmission and auto-collation system. INEC shall maintain a secure, redundant, end-to-end platform known as the NERTS for real-time intake and automatic collection of election results. The NERTS shall generate a publicly documented application programming interface for third-party viewing not later than 30 minutes after the first result is uploaded in any election. The system shall, without further human input, tally polling unit data hierarchically from polling unit to ward, to local government, to state, and up to the national level, and push the running totals live to the public portal and to the API. My brother, my sister, tell me, how can INEC rig election again when we have this provision there that mandates them to do the right thing? You cannot afford not to download this Electoral Amendment Act and upload and send it to your lawmaker. Send it to your lawmaker. We cannot continue to have excuses. No. No. 64B, live portal results or live public result portal. All polling unit level results uploaded to NARTS shall auto-populate a live publicly accessible portal on the INEC website and through the API referenced in section 64A subsection 2. Data on the portal shall be searchable, downloadable, and retain a tamper-evident audit trail so that if they try to audit it, we'll have it. And then you have backups. That's what that section is talking about. Then this is the most beautiful of all the sections in this Electoral Act. This proposed amendment to the Electoral Act 2022. It says offenses, civil remedies, and penalties. Remember, we had some penalties earlier. This one is additional. Any INEC official or ad hoc officer who tampers with, obstructs, delays, or disables the electronic transmission system to say there is a glitch, the auto-collation system or publication process commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for 10 years without an option of fine. So nobody can just wake up and tell us there was a glitch. The person responsible for that glitch will go to jail for 10 years. And of course, once that glitch happens, remember that that officer is liable to also go to jail for 3 years or pay a fine of 3 million naira. So that individual person will also pay that fine. And then you also have a situation whereby when that result is not posted online, it's substantially non-compliance and that polling unit is invalidated. So they must now conduct another election. With this one now, INEC cannot just come and say there was a glitch. They must conduct a rerun. I don't know. I'm excited about this Electoral Amendment Act. I don't know about you. Let's continue. Any candidate, party agent, or other person who aids or abets such interference commits a like offense and they go to jail too for 10 years without the option of fine. Now, who can sue INEC when they violate this law? Locus standi. Any registered voter, political party, or candidate shall have the right to institute civil proceedings against the commission or its officers for failure to comply with any provisions of this act, and may petition the appropriate security or anti-corruption agencies for investigation and prosecution. No preliminary objection on standing shall defeat such an action. This Electoral Act is the end game. This is the one that will finally guarantee that our electoral processes are free and fair. We have not bothered about other things yet. Let's just have this one first. At this point, I'll ask, maybe some of you might have some additional amendments to make. Let me know. For me, these are the ones that are just burning. When we were discussing, my team and I told them, this one is the one that is burning. Some people were talking about diaspora voting. I said that one is plenty wahala. Maybe you are thinking we should add that too. Let me know in the comment section or send me an email. Let's have a conversation around this. 2027 must be different. We cannot wait until election day to begin to say, let the election be free and fair. If you wait until election day, it is already too late. The time to act is now. And there is something else that we also need to do. It is political party reform. This is electoral reform. Political party reform is even more important. political party reform is even more important. I'll do it. I'll dedicate a full video to political party reform and then the actions that we need to take. But right now, let's just take and focus totally and completely on the Electoral Amendment Bill, electoral reform. All right, these are the consequential amendments that have been made in this Electoral Act. All references to the Principal Act in the manner as prescribed by the Commission in relation to transmission or collation of results are amended to reflect the mandatory electronic procedures introduced by this Act. Mandatory. Then, of course, citation, Electoral Amendment Act 2025. Of course, you can read through this when we're just doing a recap. This is a recap. Explanatory memorandum. This memorandum does not form part of the Act and is for explanatory purposes only. The bill removes INEC discretion and makes e-transmission and automatic e-collation of results compulsory with live public access. Yes. Key features include mandatory real-time electronic transmission from every polling unit, automatic hierarchical collation of results by NERTS from the ward to local government to state to national, then live public portal and open API for instant citizen oversight. Manual collation meetings serves only as a transparent backup. Only. The main thing is the live transmission. Then tough criminal penalties plus explicit civil standing for any voter, party, or candidate to sue or petition security agencies. The impact of this is that it will deliver end-to-end transparency and deter, stop manipulation, and empower citizens to enforce credible elections in 2027 and beyond. Once this Electoral Act is passed, and this is a message to the National Assembly, to the Speaker, that has withdrawn the bill to mandate compulsory voting, even when we advised him not to do that. Now, this, if indeed you are interested in ensuring that voter apathy is completely destroyed and that Nigerians indeed come out to vote, this is the bill you should send now to your House of Representatives, to your Senate. This is the bill. If this bill is passed, I can guarantee you Nigerians will come out in their thousands, particularly when the second step of political party reform is taken into consideration. Let me know your thoughts. Share this video. Nigerians need to hear this. I know it is not a very interesting video by way of editing. It is interesting by content, and it may be hard for some people who like to watch edited content. It may be hard for you, but I implore you, share it with them. Force yourself to watch this video. If you can, not if you can, I beg you, in the name of God, in the name of this country, download this document, go through it, and make sure that you send it to your lawmaker. Send it to their email, send it to their WhatsApp, and then if you can, print it, submit it to the National Assembly, and post a picture of yourself after you have submitted it to your social media. Let us, tag us, Electoral Amendment 2027 or 2025, Electoral Amendment Act 2025. Tag us. Let us make this go viral so that all Nigerians will have their attention on it, so that we can take the attention from movies or music or whatever and put it on this one. This is what we need at this time. Share it, like I said, and of course, if you have whatever other amendments you need us to make, let us know in the description, or sorry, in the comments, or send me an email. 2027, we will make voting impossible. Shebi they say they don't write results. May they call announce them now. When we have this kind of law,